Hi guys, welcome back. We are on page 273. So Augie and his friends just got into a fight with some 7th graders because they were calling Augie bad names at the 5th grade retreat. So they ran back to the movie theater and he lost his hearing aids too. Okay, it says sleep. It's page 273. Sleep. Then they came out of the narrow valley and all at once she saw the reason. There stood Peter and Edmund and all the rest of Aslan's army fighting desperately against a crowd of horrible creatures whom she had seen last night. Only now, in the daylight, they looked even stranger and more evil and more deformed. I stopped there. I'd been reading for over an hour and sleep still didn't come. It was almost 2 a.m. Everyone else was asleep. I had my flashlight under one sleeping bag, and maybe the lights was why I couldn't sleep, but I was too afraid to turn it off. I was afraid of how dark it was outside the sleeping bag. When we got back to our section in front of the movie screen, no one had even noticed we'd been gone. Mr. Tushman and Miss Robin and Summer and all the rest of the kids were just watching the movie. They had no clue how something bad had almost happened to me and Jack. It's so weird how that can be, how you could have a night that's the worst in your life, but to everyone else it's just an ordinary night. Like on my calendar at home, I would mark this as being one of the most horrific days of my life. This and the day Daisy died. But for the rest of the world, this was just an ordinary day. Or maybe it was even a good day. Maybe somebody won the lottery today. Amos, Miles, and Henry brought me and Jack over to where we'd been sitting before, with Summer and Maya and Reed. And then they went and sat where they had been sitting before, with Zamina and Savannah and their group. In a way, everything was exactly as how we had left it before, when we went to look for the toilets. The sky was the same, the movie was the same, everyone's face was the same. Mine was the same. But something was different. Something had changed. I could see Amos and Miles and Henry telling the group what had just happened. I knew they were talking about it, because they kept looking over at me while they were talking. Even though the movie was still playing, people were whispering about it in the dark. News like that spreads fast. It was what everyone was talking about on the bus ride back to the cabins. All the girls, even girls I didn't know very well, were asking me if I was okay. The boys were all talking about getting revenge on the group of 7th grade jerks, trying to figure out what school they were from. I wasn't planning on telling the teachers about any of what had happened, but they found out anyways. Maybe it was the torn sweatshirt and the bloody elbow, or maybe it's just the teachers hearing everything. When we got back to camp, Mr. Tushman took me to the first aid office, and while I was getting my elbow cleaned up and bandaged up by the camp nurse, Mr. Tushman and the camp director were in the next room talking with Amos and Jack and Henry and Miles, trying to get a description of the troublemakers. When he asked me about them a little later, I said I couldn't remember their faces at all, which wasn't true. It's their faces I kept seeing every time I closed my eyes to sleep. The look of total horror on the girl's face when she first saw me. The way the kid with the flashlight Eddie looked at me as he talked to me, like he hated me. Like a lamb to the slaughter. I remember Dad saying that ages ago, but tonight I think I finally got what it meant. Aftermath. Mom was waiting for me in front of the school along with all the other parents when the bus arrived. Mr. Tushman told me on the bus ride home that they had called my parents to tell them there had been a situation the night before, but that everyone was fine. He said the camp director and several of the counselors went looking for the hearing aid all in the morning while we went swimming in the lake, but they couldn't find it anywhere. Brownwood would reimburse us the cost of the hearing aids, he said. They felt bad about what happened. I've wondered if Eddie had taken my hearing aids with him as kind of a souvenir, something to remember the orc. Mom gave me a tight hug when I got off the bus, but she didn't slam me with questions like I thought she might. Her hug felt good, and I didn't shake it off like some of the other kids were doing with their parents' hugs. The bus driver started unloading our duffel bags. I went to find mine while Mom talked to Mr. Tushman and Miss Robin, who had walked over to her. As I rolled my bag toward her, a lot of kids who didn't usually say anything to me were nodding hello or patting my back as I walked by them. Ready, Mom said when we saw me. She took up my duffel bag, and I didn't even have to hold on to it. I was fine with her carrying it. If she had wanted to carry me on her shoulders, I would have been fine with that too, to be truthful. As we started to walk away, Mr. Tushman gave me a quick, tight hug, but didn't say anything. Home. Mom and I didn't talk much the whole way home, and when we got to the front stoop, I automatically looked in the front bay window, because I forgot for a second that Daisy wasn't going to be there like always, perched on the sofa with her front paws on the windowsill, waiting for us to come home. It made me kind of sad when we walked inside. As soon as we did, Mom dropped my duffel bag and wrapped her arms around me and kissed me on my head and on my face like she was breathing me in. It's okay, Mom. I'm fine, I said, smiling. She nodded and took my face in her hands. Her eyes were shiny. I know you are, she said. I missed you so much, Augie. I missed you too. I could tell she wanted to say a lot of things, but she was stopping herself. Are you hungry? She asked. Starving. Can I have grilled cheese? Of course, she answered, and immediately started to make the sandwich while I took my jacket off and sat down at the kitchen counter. Where's Via? I asked. She's coming home with Dad today. Boy, did she miss you, Augie, Mom said. Yeah, she would have liked that nature reserve. You know what movie they played? The Sound of Music. You'll have to tell her that. So do you want to hear about the bad part or the good part first? I asked for a few minutes, leaning my head on my hand. Whatever you want to talk about, she answered. Well, except for last night, I had an awesome time, I said. I mean, it was just awesome. That's why I'm so bummed. I feel like they ruined the whole trip for me. No, sweetie, don't let them do that to you. You were there for more than 48 hours, and that awful part lasted 1 hour. Don't let them take that away from you, okay? I know, I nodded. Did Mr. Tushman tell you about the hearing aids? Yes, he called us this morning. Was Dad mad? Because they're so expensive. Oh my gosh, of course not, Augie. He just wanted to know that you were all right, that's all that matters to us, and that you don't let those thugs ruin your trip. I kind of laughed the way she said the word thugs. What? She asked. Thugs? I teased her. That's kind of an old-fashioned word. Okay, jerks, moron, imbecile, she said, flipping over the sandwich in the pan. Cretin, as my mother would have said. Whatever you want to call them. If I saw them on the street, I would. She shook her head. They were pretty big, Mom, I smiled. 7th graders, I think. She shook her head. 7th graders? Tushman didn't tell us that. Oh, my goodness. Did he tell you how Jack stood up for me? I said, and Amos was like, bam, and he rammed right into the leader. They both crashed to the ground like in a real fight. It was pretty awesome. Amos's lip was bleeding and everything. He told us that there was a fight, but, she said, looking at me with her eyebrows raised, I'm just so grateful you and Amos and Jack are fine. When I think about what could have happened, she trailed off, flipping the grilled cheese again. My Manitouk hoodie got totally shredded. Well, that can be replaced, she said. She lifted the grilled cheese into a plate and put the plate in front of me on the counter. Milk or white grape juice? Chocolate milk, please. I started devouring the sandwich. Oh, can you do it in a special way you make it with the froth? How did you and Jack end up at the edge of the woods in the first place, she said, pouring the milk into the tall glass. Jack had to go to the bathroom, I answered, my mouth full. I was talking. She spooned in the chocolate powder and started rolling a small wisp between her palms really fast. But there was a huge line and he didn't want to wait. So he went towards the woods to pee. She looked up at me while she was whisking. I know she was thinking we shouldn't have done that. The chocolate milk in the glass now had 2-inch froth on the top. That looks good, Mom. Thanks. And then what happened, she said, putting the glass in front of me. I took a long drink of the chocolate milk. Is it okay if we don't talk about it anymore right now? Oh, okay. I promise I'll tell you about it later, when Dad and Via come home. I'll tell you every detail. I just don't want to have to tell the whole story over and over, you know? Absolutely. I finished my sandwich in 2 more bites and gulped down the chocolate milk. Wow, you practically inhaled that sandwich. Do you want another one, she said. I shook my head and wiped my mouth in the back of my hand. Mom, am I always going to have to worry about jerks like that? I asked. Like when I grow up, is it always going to be like this? She didn't answer right away, but took my plate and glass and put them in the sink and rinsed them with water. There are always going to be jerks in the world, Augie, she said, looking at me. But I really believe, and Daddy really believes, that there are more good people on this earth than bad people. And the good people watch out for each other and take care of each other, just like Jack was there for you, and Amos and those other kids. Oh, yeah, Miles and Henry, I answered. They were awesome, too. It's weird because Miles and Henry haven't really been nice to me at all during this year. Sometimes people surprise us, she said, rubbing the top of my head. I guess. Want another glass of chocolate milk? No, I'm good, I said. Thanks, Mom. Actually, I'm kind of tired. I didn't sleep too good last night. You should take a nap. Thanks for leaving me, Babu, by the way. You got my note? She smiled. I slept with him both nights. She was about to say something else when her cell phone rang and she answered. She started beaming as she listened. Oh my goodness, really? What kind? She said. Yep, he's right here. He was about to take a nap. Want to say hi? Oh, okay. See you in 2 minutes. Then she clicked it off. That was Dad, she said, excited. He and Via are just down the block. He's not at work, I said. He left early because he couldn't wait to see you, she said, so don't take a nap quite yet. 5 seconds later, Dad and Via came through the door. I ran into Dad's arms. He picked me up and spun me around and kissed me. He didn't let me go for a full minute until I said, "Dad, it's okay." And then it was Via's turn, and she kissed me all over like she used to when I was little. It wasn't until she stopped that I noticed the big white cardboard box they had brought in with them. "What is that?" I said. "Open it," said Dad, smiling. And he and Mom looked at each other, and they knew a secret. "Come on, Augie," said Via. I opened the box. Inside was the cutest little puppy I had ever seen in my life. It was black and furry with a pointy little snout and bright black eyes and small ears that flopped down. Bear. We called the puppy Bear because when Mom first saw him, she thought he looked like a little bear cub. I said that's what we should call him, and everyone agreed that's what the perfect name. I took the next day off from school, but not because my elbow was hurting me, which it was, but so I could play with Bear all day long. Mom let Via stay home from school too, so the two of us took turns cuddling with Bear and playing tug-of-war with him. We had kept all of Daisy's old toys, and we brought them out now to see which ones he liked the best. It was fun hanging out with Via all day. Just the two of us. It was like old times. But before I started going to school, back then, I couldn't wait for her to come home from school and she could play with me before starting her homework. Now that we're older, though, I'm going to school and have friends of my own and that I hang out with. We never do that anymore. So it was nice hanging out with her, laughing and playing. I think she liked it too. Okay, let's do the 5 questions. Question number 1. After the fight happened, Augie couldn't do what? He couldn't go to what? Number 2, did Augie tell the teachers what happened? Number 3, Number 3, what happened to, what was the campground going to do about Augie's hearing aids? Number 3. Number 4, Dad and Via brought home something. And number 5, what did they name the puppy? See you tomorrow.